Issue 210. We start out with Amy and Antoine running from the Dark Legion in the Nanite City, which only makes sense because Nicole has her free will back and let them escape, but why isn't the Iron Queen getting suspicious of her for having not already summoned hands to grab them by now? When they get surrounded by Legionnaires and Yagi ninjas, Jeffrey shows up out of nowhere, protecting them with a soldier gear and tells them to run on ahead. He flashes the soldier with light and then immediately catches up with Amy and Antoine running at their side. I guess he's faster than them and is slowing down to avoid leaving them behind. He complains that he leaves for one mission and the whole city falls apart, which doesn't explain how he got into the Nanite City when surrounded by a metal shell. I mean, I guess his gear had something for that too, like a really powerful laser. For some reason he says that things weren't this bad under the first Robotnik, even though nobody's being turned into robot slaves. And Amy doesn't point this out to him. They jump to a secret bunker from a tree stump entrance, with Jeffrey lampshading the nostalgicness of the tree stump, though I'm just wondering why they can't enter Freedom HQ that way anymore and just have a regular door anyone could open. While it makes sense that Tails and Rotor would build this place, it comes out of complete nowhere as a convenience for these guys. Bunny reassures them that she just heard back from Vector and they got the last group of refugees to Angel Island. We're never going to really see those refugees there, by the way. We're never going to see them having a village there or anything. Jeffrey briefly thinks Nicole's still brainwashed and is corrected, and looks all embarrassed apologizing to her, while Amy says that since she's a hologram, what's a Bolt gonna do? It was explained that the bulk of her programming was put into the computer matrix, so that would explain why she's just a hologram when Sally was able to physically make contact with her in this Nanite City earlier. Amy explains that Nicole's the one who built the secret bunker for them and is keeping them up to date on the stuff going on in the city. I hope we get some insight into her feeling guilty and sad about how she's forced to do the evil stuff the Iron Queen orders her to do to keep her cover. She reveals that they're moving prisoners again, this time to the Colosseum where they'll be made into cyborgs for the Dark Legion in public. Again in public, so the Queen cares more about scare tactics than bread and circuses. And since it was explained that the Iron Queen can control the cyborgs and make them her brainwashed slaves, wait, wouldn't that apply to Leonda too? I don't care that she has a control chip. That doesn't even make sense. Why would anything be able to make her immune to being controlled by an electromage? I guess Leonda didn't care because she'd still be the Grandmaster of the Legion once the Queen was defeated, and she'd get her free will back. For some reason, Amy insists that being cyborgized is worse than being roboticized, when no, it's clearly not. You still have basically the same organic body and appearance. Antoine says that they haven't done it to many people, but Bunny says that they can't save everyone with so many citizens hiding. For some weird reason, Jeffrey takes a few seconds looking like he's considering something before going with Amy and Antoine to the Colosseum, even though it being inconsistent with his character to refuse to help save the citizens. In the detention center, Snively is asked by Leonda why he keeps answering Eggman's summons when he's nuts, and Snively explains that he gets joy out of seeing him so pathetic. Leonda says she's going to check on the next sector, and suddenly, Eggman is back to being menacing, as he tells Snively that he's figured everything out. Here's the bullshit explanation for why he gained his sanity back. Even though he was insane, he reasoned himself back to insanity, with no therapist or medication or anything, by believing in the gambler's fallacy. The fallacy that if he keeps doing the same thing, the definition of insanity, eventually it'll work and he'll beat Sonic. Now I'd like to point out one thing. In issue 200, the very issue where he officially went nuts, he said that Sonic can only beat the odds for so long. Basically the exact same argument here. Why the hell is it that the last time he came to the argument it didn't pull him out of it, but now all of a sudden it does? Because bullshit, that's why. Flynn couldn't think of a better way to have him regain his sanity. They could have had Ixis or Mammoth Mogul do it. A wizard did it would have been a better explanation than this. Granted, they both fucked off and gone who knows where instead of fighting the heroes or villains for no reason, but still. Mogul could have come here to try to use Eggman, and then realized he's beyond his control or something. He could have cured Ixis of his inexplicable insanity, and Ixis could have done it. Eggman explains that the reason he can't beat Sonic and plan for him is because Sonic, thanks to all the chaos energy he's been exposed to, is the embodiment of chaos. First of all, if he says he can't beat him, then why is he still planning to fight him? Shouldn't he be upset about this? And second, Knuckles, when he was green, was way more of an example of the embodiment of chaos than Sonic, and he wasn't unpredictable. Sonic's not omnipotent. I'd say Scourge is closer to being the embodiment of unpredictable chaos than Sonic. Although, then again, he's entirely defined by being motivated by trying to rebel against Sonic and prove he's an individual, while Sonic's motivations are a bit more complicated. But he still, does whatever he wants, though. And third, the reason that he can't predict Sonic, well, first off, it's not just Sonic he can't predict, it's all of the heroes who are fighting against him. And that's because he's not in their own minds. He doesn't know what they're thinking. He doesn't know what they're planning because he's not there when they're planning. That doesn't mean that they're the embodiment of chaos. That doesn't mean that they're unpredictable. It just means that he doesn't know what they're planning. Somehow Eggman gets the crazy idea that because he knows Sonic's unpredictable, now he can properly predict him and account for the unaccountable. What kind of logic is that? He says out of nowhere that now his plans can proceed, even though he just said Sonic was unbeatable. I thought he was going to be way more clear about the fact that he's only continuing from the gambler's fallacy, but somehow the explanation he's giving after this makes even less sense. I guess I gave the writing too much credit when I was expecting the worst to begin with. After he tells Snively to let him out, despite the fact that he should have no possible inclination to do so, Eggman bluntly tells him that the Iron Queen doesn't love him, she's a manipulator, doing this all to keep her power over him. Of course, we'll never get to see a complete confirmation of that, and he says that Snively can't love because he's evil. We see that he's wrong with the latter as he starts to cry, but the former was foreshadowed by the Iron Queen getting mad at Snively and leaving him behind one time, and telling him he can only get back into her room if he gets her into the city. If she loves him, then she wouldn't be able to handle doing that. Though I don't see why just because someone gets mad at someone they love, that counts as foreshadowing that they never loved them at all though. It's impossible to be with someone for a while and not ever get mad at them. Eggman calls Snively out, saying that he only cares about himself and would save himself before the Iron Queen was even a thought in his mind. Snively tells him he's wrong and he can just stay in there and rot, and Eggman is confident that he'll be back to release him, even though there's no reason he should. Does he think Snively doesn't have the confidence to try to be the only major villain without him? Does he think Snively will think he needs the abusive uncle when he clearly killed Robotnik no problem? Not to mention trapped Robotnik in the void or whatever and took over the Empire for himself at one point and nearly destroyed the world. It's all because Eggman's arrogant, I guess. Over at the Coliseum, the Iron King tells the Queen that he's impatient as there's an active rebellion going on and he's being made to sit here and watch Snively play Mad Doctor. He's talking as if he isn't a Mad Doctor and is just pretending. The Iron Queen covertly reassures him that he'll get to his maiming and there is more to today than meets the eye. She figured out that the rebels are just a little too successful, their strikes being too precise, which tells her that they've tapped into their communications. Let me guess, she's going to brainwash Nicole again and she'll succeed despite her defenses against her, because of course she will. She can control electricity, and any programming that defenses are made up of would be made of that. Rotor briefly punches some Dark Legionnaire standing up for himself, only to immediately complain about his back hurting, as I wonder how Nicole or him haven't figured out a way to fix that problem with nanobots or something with their engineering prowess. Seriously, making one of the main freedom fighters from the beginning this pathetic strikes me as a very odd marketing decision. Of course, the heroes save Rotor, and Antoine lands on a traditional animal capsule that releases a bunch of people. I love the fact that the roboticizers look like that now, by the way, and reassures them that they'll cover their escape. Jeffrey naturally lampshades how embarrassing it was for Sonic to lose to Yagyu ninjas like that, confidently fighting and quipping like Sonic, reminding me of why I used to like him so much in the Sally miniseries. Unfortunately, the Iron King shows up and smacks him away. Amy comes to the rescue and is somehow able to hold back his hammer with her own, even though I'd expected the Iron King to be way stronger than her, and therefore push his hammer down on hers and push it away immediately. But I guess we have to have the hero with the hammer fight the villain with the hammer. Amy tells Jeffrey to go help everyone evacuate and leave her with him. Before Jeffrey can do anything to save Antoine as he's kicked in the back, the Iron Queen summons some hands to grab the civilians and feels that literally everything in the city is made of nanobots for her to control, and she knows it. It's just then when some lightning strikes from Khan, and Sonic and his friends fly in on the plane to save the day. It'll be tough to win against her considering she just revealed she has the power of a literal god in this city. This issue is by Ian Flynn and involves Amy, Antoine, and Jeffrey going to save some people from being legionized and brainwashed by the Iron Queen, and after a fight where they save Rotor, the Iron Queen reveals that she knows she can control everything in the city thanks to nanobots, including every blade of grass, because God forbid they grow some real grass. I guess the place the city's in doesn't have the right soil for it. When she said she figured out that the heroes were tapping into their communications, I thought for sure she'd know that Nicole was being take advantage of, and that she'd re-brainwash her. But she didn't. Was this, like, did they plan to do that and drop it? Fortunately, Sonic and the other heroes showed up just in time to stop her. It was good, as usual. I liked the concept of roboticization basically being brought back in a very creative new way that has much more appeal to it because you don't see the people looking like evil robots. But by making it, people are being turned into cyborg slaves instead. But how does the Queen expect to brainwash people that she's sending that far away from her? How can she maintain control over people from that far away? I mean, she needed to come right up to Nicole to brainwash her. She couldn't just do it from her castle. So the brainwashing chips have to be causing brainwashing on their own. Make me wonder why all Legionnaires aren't brainwashed like that already. But they were implying earlier that people were going to be brainwashed by the Queen's techno magic instead. Also, Eggman reasons himself into sanity with circular logic. Okay.